Yeah, okay. So, right. So, I think, yeah, we were here on page 40, where the narrative started to speculate again about the relationship between Emily and Homer Baron, the laborer, as we said, the day laborer. And, as if to say, we see that the people were happy for her, maybe to have established some kind of friendship or relationship. And, the attitude, of course, here that people were happy for her to have done that. But as you know, of course, the story really is amazing by the amount of interference and, watching her, because it seems that the whole town is actually watching her and what she's doing and so on. So here we see the narrator saying this, that they started to say, poor Emily. Everybody felt a bit, maybe sympathy and maybe kind of friendship or something, that they really feel some kind of passion, or not passion really, but mainly sympathy, really sympathy, to see what she's doing here. That's why they say poor Emily. They really mean that, what a shame that she has to, of course, after the death of her father, when they know that her father was a terrible father who kicked away all those men who wanted to marry her. So that's why they went on, here the narrator saying, of course it is, what else could this behind their hands, rustling of craned silk and satin behind jalousies, closed upon the sun of Sunday afternoon, as the thin, swift clop, clop, clop of the match team passed poor Emily. Again, so the narrator really is, as you can see here, saying that the whole town is, watching and thinking about what's going to happen to her. So that's why in the next paragraph, the narrator says that she's so proud. And as we know, the narrator mocks the way that she comes from a high family, the Grierson family, and so on. So again, even in this class question, really the narrator is mocking her and the writer is laughing at her, really ridiculing her. I mean, not her particularly, but I think her father's attitude and the society's attitude, thinking that they come from a high class. So that's why he never thought that anybody is equal to his daughter. So that's why the narrator, goes on, and the writer goes on and on to really mock and criticize the way she feels so proud of her family. She carried her head high enough, even when we believed that she was fallen. You see, so this is it. He's saying that the whole town believe really, and they know that she should not be so, arrogant and feeling high about her position in society and family and so on. So really they believe that in a way she was fallen, not really high, It was as if she demanded some more than ever the recognition of her dignity as the last Grierson, as if it had wanted that touch of earthiness to reaffirm her imperviousness, like when she bought the rat poison, the arsenic. So here the narrator really is amazed, and of course, as I said, the people are even funny and amazed about her attitude, to say why she's always feeling that she's so arrogant and so, when everybody knows for sure, they know that she's down to earth like everybody. She's like everybody, And that's why, you know, here he's mocking the way, as if she had, you know, as if had wanted a touch of reality or a touch of earthiness, meaning she is already, she looks like being normal. She's even, you know, less than normal, like everybody else. But her mentality and attitude, as we said, because of her father's influence, you know, the idea, of course, the father really implanted in her mind that she is a Grierson. Therefore, she is a high family, you know, as we say, highbrow family, if you like. So, and here the narrator is mocking the way he gives the example, the way she talks to the apothecarist, the man who was in the pharmacy when she bought the poison, the arsenic, you know, which is the terrible thing. That was over a year when they had begun to say, poor Emily. So notice here the narrator going back and forth in time said, that is the time when she bought the poison, you know, 1 year after everybody was started to say, poor Emily. Meaning for a whole year, everybody thought that she's okay. And then after a year, things changed. You know, here, of course, as I said, the stretch and the switch in time in the narrative here. And while the two female cousins were visiting her, I want some poison, she said to the druggist. Druggist really means the man who works in the pharmacy, you know, as a pharmacist, we say here. So they use the word druggist. She was over 30 then, still a slight woman, though thinner than usual, with cold, haughty black eyes, in a face in a face the flesh of which was strained across the temples and about the eye sockets, as you imagine a lighthouse keeper's face ought to look. You know, it's amazing the way he describes her. You know, the way he compares her to this, you know, lighthouses, and, you know, really amazing. Even looking at this, the eye sockets, the way it describes the way her eyes, you know, the build of her eyes, and yeah, it's really notice here, like said, like housekeeper's face, meaning very careful and open, and, you know, as if staring, and, you know, very careful. And the way she said to the man there in the pharmacy, I want some poison, she said. Yes, Miss Emily, what kind? For rats and such, I'd recommend. Sorry, I'd recommend, you know, he wanted to tell her what kind of poison she should buy. You know, like any you know, businessman who wants to sell his stuff, like here in a shop, or here, of course, it's a pharmacy. So he wants to tell her what kind of thing she should buy, maybe. And then she said, I want the best you have. I don't care what kind. The druggist named several. They would kill anything up to an elephant. But what you want is, you know, he's saying, well, all these kinds of poison, they would kill anything. He said they would kill up to an elephant. But what do you want? And then she said, arsenic. Miss Emily said, is that a good one? Is arsenic? Yes, ma'am. But what you want? I want arsenic. The druggist looked down at her. She looked back at him, erect, her face like a strained fat flag. Why, of course, the druggist said, if that's what you want, but the law requires you tell what you are going to use it for. Yeah, so today if you go, for example, to a pharmacy, you can't buy anything you like. You know, there are stuff you can't buy. You have to have a prescription, a doctor's prescription, you know, because according to law, there there are many things from the pharmacy which you cannot buy on your own. You have to have a prescription, a medical doctor official prescription. And I think here that's the one here in one of those, you know, saying you can't buy that poison unless you have to tell me why you want it. Of course, we know, because Emily, being a proud and arrogant woman, she will never tell him, of course. Miss Emily just stared at him, her head tilted back in order to look him eye for eye, until he looked away and went and got the arsenic and wrapped it up. What a shame. You know, he couldn't he couldn't face her. You know, she looked him eye for eye, you know, as if to say, you know, who the hell you are to ask me such a question? I will never answer you. You are nothing. I am Grierson. You know, as if that's the idea, meaning she's so arrogant, she would not speak to the man and tell him why she wants to buy it. You know, she didn't even say a word, just looked at him. And he was terrified. You know, that's why you notice here, tilted her head back, you know, and she looked at him eye to eye, you know. The Negro delivery boy brought her the package. The druggist didn't come back. When she opened the package at home, there was written on the box, under the skull and bones, for rats. So she bought this terrible thing for rats. So the next day we said she will kill herself. Yeah. How do they know that she bought arsenic for rats? Huh? But boys, girls, how do they know? Hello? Are you still asleep? You're not going to talk. Yeah? How do they know that she bought rats? I mean, poison for rats. Hi. Nobody. Are you here? Girls?
Yes, Mr. We are here.
Yeah, why you are so quiet? You are not in the mood to talk? You are not in the mood to talk. Yes. Anyway, today we have 4 people absent. Well, it means really here the story means that the town people, of course, knew because the pharmacist told them. And because, of course, of the nature of the gossip of the town people, because they are so gossipy. They always talk and talk and talk and watch and watch and watch and gossip and gossip and gossip and nothing else. So immediately the whole town knew that she bought poison. And they started to speculate why she did buy poison. Why, you know, why did she? You know, they wanted to know. And of course, it's all speculation. Speculation. So the first time they say she will kill herself. And we said it would be the best thing. What? The best thing? Why? Why the best thing to kill herself? Yani, why? What did she do to them? Why are they happy for her death? It would be the best thing. Huh? Come on, this is amazing. I think these town people are terrible. They feel that they are already judged her and they think they want her to die. Why? Why? She did nothing against them. We said it would be the best thing to kill herself. I think this is very terrible and very wicked. It shows, again, as I said, the absolute terrible racial, maybe ugly segregation, you know. I'm not going to say racism, but could be racism to some extent against her, to say, you know, they wanted her to die for their own crazy attitudes. Really, there's no logic. When she had first begun to be seen with Homer Baron, we had said she will marry him. So notice the speculation one after another. So we see now that the townspeople were doing really ugly things, maybe equal to what her father maybe was doing to her privately when she was with him as, you know, her father living in the same house. So now the townspeople are classifying her, always writing her to be a bad girl or to be an ugly girl, and so on. And they decide for her all kinds of things and all kinds of stuff, which is nothing to do with them. What is it to do with them? What is it to do with them? It has nothing to do with them. We said, they say, we said she will marry him. Then we said she will be persuaded, she will persuade him yet. Because Homer Baron himself had remarked he liked men. And it was that he drank with the younger men in the Elks Club, that he was not a marrying man. Yeah, I don't like this remark here. Really, the narrator wants to mock, if you like, homosexuality here, to say maybe he's a homosexual, so he was not a marrying man. You know, of course, the attitude, of course, here, the way she along society, really. You know, she didn't wait to see whether he's going to marry her or not. You know, maybe he was mocking her, maybe he was laughing, maybe he was joking about it. So she killed him, immediately. Later, we said, poor Emily, behind the jalousies as they passed. Again, the same thing here. Notice here the word the jalousies, again using this French word. Really, it means here people are watching behind curtains, jalousies, you know, those decorated, old-fashioned, old kind of curtains used in homes and in windows. So people are watching her behind curtains, as if watching her every day, every movement she's doing, and the way they move and the way they watch her going out and in in her buggy. And you notice here a glittering buggy, Miss Emily and Homer Baron going all the time together, and they started gossiping about her, you know. So this is the idea about how in a glittering buggy is one of those carriages drawn by by one horse. It's a small, tiny carriage with driven by one horse, or dragged, I should say. Miss Emily with her head high, and Homer Barron with his hat cocked and a cigar in his teeth, reins and whip in a yellow glove. Really, the narrator, as you can see, and I should say here, the writer, Faulkner, is amazing, really, how he writes this, to compare. These people are normal people. I mean, Emily here and Homer as boyfriend and girlfriend, as maybe going to get married, and everybody thought that they're going to marry, and she wants to marry him, and so on. But as we say, after maybe a year, people thought that they are going to be married, and so on. But as we said, we don't know really details. We don't know the details. We are given the supposition here. That's why the narrator really is laughing about how society really decided that he's not going to marry her, and society decided that she should kill him, and so on. And really, this is the terrible thing. Then some of the ladies began to say that it was a disgrace to the town and a bad example to the young people. The men did not want to interfere, but at last the ladies forced the Baptist minister. Miss Emily's people were episcopal to call upon her. He would never divulge what happened during that interview, when he refused to go back again. The next Sunday the next Sunday they again drove about the streets, and the following day the minister's wife wrote to Miss Emily's relations in Alabama. So, as if to say, the people in the town, they had certain attitudes about Homer, and they don't think that this is a good example to have in the town. They don't want their people to see, or their children, or their kids, or their boys, and their young people to imitate such a bad, for example in Homer, because they think Homer Barron is a bad example. So that's why they don't want him to be in the town at the moment, for example. And then here they try to speak to him or to whatever. In fact, the narrator and the writer really did not make it clear, absolutely clear. He left it for the audience, for the reader to speculate about what happened. She had bloodkin under the roof again, and we sat back to watch developments. Look at it here, watch. Yeah, they were always watching. So notice here the narrator again using we and she here. Her relatives came to see her. And he said, we, the town people, kept always watching. What a terrible thing. Again, we're saying had bloodkin under, means her relatives in blood, as we say, blood relatives, aunts or cousins or whatever. So they came to her, and you can see here, that the town kept watching developments. At first, nothing happened. Then we were sure that they were to be married. We learned that Miss Emily had been to the jeweler's and ordered a man's toilet set in silver with the letters HB on each side. 2 days later, we learned that she had bought a complete outfit of men's clothing, including a nightshirt. And we said they were married. We were glad, really. We were really glad. We were glad because the two female cousins were even were even more Grierson than Miss Emily had ever been. Notice here the narrator is laughing at her relatives. Even her relatives, he said, they are even worse than her. They are so haughty and so proud of themselves, more than Emily. So that's why he said more Grierson, meaning they are crazy and they are so arrogant, more than her even. You know, so the narrator really is laughing at this family, the Grierson, the crazy Grierson. So we were not surprised when Homer Baron, the street had been finished sometime since. So remember that Homer was here only for a work, for some time. They were fixing the streets. And now the job was finished. So Homer Baron is supposed to go because he doesn't belong to this city. He's only a worker. So they have finished their job, so they will move to somewhere else. So here they say, well, we were not surprised to see him because the work was finished. So he was gone. We were a little disappointed that there was not a public blowing off, but we believed that he had gone on to prepare for Miss Emily's coming, or to give her a change to get rid of the cousins. Again, notice the terrible, again, the way they decide on her, all the action, you know. They thought when he disappeared for a while, they thought, as you can see here, they thought maybe he gave her a break to get ready, or he himself is getting ready to get married. He left her because she has her cousins with her, so he does not want to sort of interfere with their private, you know, company, and so on. So as if there is some kind of sense here. By that time it was a cabal, and we were all Miss Emily's allies to help circumvent the cousins. So here, every time you hear the town people saying, we really now, we feel a bit more, even more sorry and sorrier for her, because we want to see her married. Sure enough, after another week, they had departed. And we had expected all along. Within 3 days, Homer Baron was back in town. A neighbor saw the Negro man admit him at the kitchen door at dusk one evening. So now, after her relatives gone away, Homer Baron came back, and he said, we didn't see him coming back, but we know that, you know, the Negro man, he said a neighbor saw the Negro man coming. I mean, admitting a man, meaning admitting Homer Baron. Yeah. And that was the last we saw of Homer Baron. That was the last we saw of Homer Baron. Why he said we saw of Homer Baron? Anybody can translate this good sentence to Arabic? And that was the last we saw of Homer Baron. Good translators, Haneen, Buthaina, Ahmad, Sumaya, Marwa, Razan. Yeah? Anybody can translate this to me?
وتلك كانت المرة الأخيرة التي رأيناها فيه. Maybe.
التي رأيناها فيه. Why why he said, well, when you say التي رأيناها فيه, it's nice translation, but why didn't say the last time we saw off? يعني why didn't say we saw Homer Baron? Why off Homer Baron? Yeah, try to think. Who was speaking?
Me, Hanin.
Hanin. Yeah. Can you think of really the writer here wants to say to emphasize, to really to emphasize one thing, that really it means more than that. يعني if you want to exaggerate this sentence, how do you exaggerate it? يعني كيف ممكن هيك؟ What did you say? What did you say in your translation? And that was وتلك كانت. What did you say?
وتلك كانت المرة الأخيرة التي رأيناها فيه.
Yeah, I think I would say here really it means we say this we say this in Arabic. If you want to emphasize, we say فتلنا دورنا على فلان دورنا على فلان دورنا على فلان, and at the end we say we looked and looked and looked and looked but we didn't see him, so we say لم نلقى لم نلحظ لم نرى لم etc. أي أثر له. Isn't it? Really, that's what it means. We saw the last time, we saw off Homer Baron. يعني ما شفنا منه ولا حتة, يعني ولا لحسة كده, ها؟ أي أثر, لم نلمح منه ولا أثر, ولم نلمح, isn't it? بمعنى he was absolutely, you know, he has disappeared completely. We could never trace anything about him. يعني this is the idea, نلمح أي أثر له. I think I would say it like this is better, because it's more emphasis here, more emphasis, meaning يعني ما لمحنا منه أي شيء. اختفى الزلمة, راح. وين راح؟ That was the last. وتلك كانت المرة الأخيرة التي لمحنا منه شيئا, لمحنا أثر له. حسبي الله. وين راح الزلمة؟ وين اختفى؟ And off Miss Emily for some time. Look here again, you know, I think there is a spelling mistake here, I think, because the word for here really, it no needs for E. I think so. And of Miss Emily for some time, meaning Miss Emily, we saw her, but not much. But him, we have never seen him again. The Negro man went in and out with a basket, with a market basket, but the front door remained closed. Now and then we would see her at the window for a moment, as the men did that night when they sprinkled the lime. Now we know. We know when they came to sprinkle the lime, and I told you that was the smell of the dead body of Homer Baron. Yeah. Now here we have the connection. They haven't seen her except that once, maybe once, and sometimes, and now we come back to that idea when they came to sprinkle lime in her garden. But for almost 6 months, she did not appear in the streets. Then we knew that was to be expected too, as if that quality of her father, which had fought for women's life so many times, had been too virulent and too furious to die. When we next saw Miss Emily, she had grown fat and her hair was turning gray. During the next few years, it grew grayer and grayer until it attained an even pepper and salt iron gray. What a terrible description, describing her hair. You know, pepper and salt iron gray. You know, the coloring here, amazing. What it sees turning up to the day of her death at 74. La ilaha illallah. When did she buy the poison? She was 30. And she lived with a dead body for how many years now? 30 to 74 means 44 years. Up to the day of her death at 74, it was still that vigorous iron gray, like the hair of an active man. Yeah. So really, this paragraph here again summarizes in a very strong way that she killed this man and she kept his body till she died for 44 years. What kind of person is this? She is absolutely sick and mad. Absolutely. No doubt. From that time on, her front door remained closed, save for a period of 6 or 7 years when she was about 40, during which she gave lessons in China painting. She fitted up a studio in one of the downstairs rooms, where the daughters and granddaughters of Colonel Sartor's contemporaries were sent to her with the same regularity. You know, here we are giving more details about how she spent those years. About 7, 8 years, she was giving classes, painting classes to students. And then the next paragraph said, then the newer generation became the backbone and the spirit of the town. And the painting pupils grew up and fell away and did not send their children to her with boxes of color and tedious brushes and pictures cut from ladies' magazines. The front door closed upon the last one and remained closed for good. When the town, not free postal delivery, Miss Emily alone refused to let them fasten the metal numbers above her door and attached a mailbox to it. She would not listen to them. Daily, monthly, yearly, we watched the Negro grow grayer and more stooped, going in and out with the market basket. Each December, we sent her a tax notice, which would be returned by the post office a week later unclaimed. Now and then, we would see her in one of the downstairs windows. She had evidently shut up the top floor of the house, like the caravan torso of an idol in a niche looking or not looking at us. We could never tell which. Thus, she passed from generation to generation, dear, inescapable, imprevious, tranquil, and perverse. I think this is a lovely sentence here at the end. Look at the contradictions, you know, from generation to generation, and everybody was watching and everybody was wondering, everybody was amazed, everybody was shocked about what she's doing and so on. And still they think of her as dear member of the town. Again, they could not get rid of her, inescapable. Again, impervious, she's showing off, high in class, etc. But anyway, they don't see her, so they will not let her. She will not let anybody to her house. Again, the contradiction: tranquil, everything quiet about her, and again, perverse. And I think this is, you know, the terrible thing. Yeah, she is a pervert. You know pervert? The word pervert? Huh? Pervert means really absolutely filthy, ugly, crooked, not straight, means really sometimes someone who's, if you like, not natural or abnormal or subnormal or, if you like, irregular or against all kinds
Deviant,
of normal
Master.
things. Sorry?
Deviant.
Yeah. Yeah, devious, yes, and yeah, yes. Yeah, I mean, I try to explain it here. Really means something whose behavior is ugly in so many ways and not really acceptable in any way. So sometimes if you want to say to somebody as a pervert, really it's a terrible thing to say to anybody. You are a pervert means, you know, you are absolutely ugly in all manners. So notice here that thinking of her, all these contradictions, dear, and then inescapable, and then impervious, and then tranquil and perverse, you know, all those absolutely contradictory, paradoxical elements about Emily. Yes, I think that's what she was in all those crazy things she did. And so she died. And so she died, fell ill in the house filled with dust and shadows. I'm really amazed how she could live for, I'm really shocked. How could she live? I mean, her body must be strong to be able to live for 40 years with a dead body. How could she? I can't believe it. I think this is not possible. I don't think it could ever happen. In reality, it's impossible. I think it's impossible. It could never happen. To have somebody to kill somebody and to put him in your bed and to sleep next to him for years, a dead body, for 44 years to keep a dead body in your house, for 44 years, come on. And you know, I'm amazed that she didn't die sooner, really. She should have died sooner, really sooner, because I mean, I couldn't imagine. So she died, fell ill in the house filled with dust and shadows, with only a doddering Negro man to wait on her. Notice here again, doddering. Yeah. You know, dodder, to dodder? Really, yeah, it's, I I'm surprised that he's not completely crazy. Yeah, doddering means somebody who went completely, out of his mind. But maybe because he's a slave, he can't leave. He can't run away. Maybe he could. I don't know why he did not run away, by the way, because he was going out, and I don't know, because here again the idea that the society and the system maybe would have stopped him. I don't know. So that's why here we did not even know she was sick. We had long since given up trying to get any information from the Negro. So now we know maybe the Negro was giving the gossip and the information. He talked to no one, probably not even her, for his voice had grown harsh and rusty as if from disuse. He could not speak because he's not using his voice. Really, this is funny. When you can't speak because you are not speaking, you're not using your voice, so therefore you lost the power of speech. And this is really, the narrator here is laughing at him. His voice had grown harsh and rusty. This is really lovely word here, rusty. Salty. Rust. You know the word rust?
Yes, it's carbonated iron.
Carbonated what?
It's sada in Arabic.
Yeah, good. Yeah, but I thought you said the oil. It's not really oil. Mainly metal stuff, they go rusty because of the atmosphere and the time and sun and air and wind and rain and all this. Most metal, outside metal, only metal, not oil. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, to say somebody's voice went rusty because of being not used. I think he's laughing at her. She died in one of the downstairs rooms in a heavy walnut bed with a curtain. Her gray head propped on a pillow, yellow and moldy with age and lack of sunlight. When you look at the description and the words really that he's using, amazing. Notice here the bed, heavy walnut bed, again with gray head propped up with yellow and moldy with age. Again, asfar wa ma'affin. La ilaha illallah. Yellow and moldy with age and lack of sunlight. Yeah, what a terrible thing. And of course, here is the end of the story, when you see quickly here how the conclusion. The Negro met the first of the ladies at the front door, and he led them in with their hushed, sibilant voices and their quick, curious glances. And then he disappeared. He walked right through the house and out on the back, and was not seen again. So here the narrator telling us, that is the first time, he was able to run away, and he has never been seen again. The two female cousins came at once. They had the funeral on the second day, with the town coming to look at Miss Emily beneath a mass of boat flowers, with the crayon face of her father, nursing profoundly above the bier, and the ladies sibilant and macabre, and the very old men some of their brushed Confederate uniforms on the porch and the lawn, talking of Miss Emily as if she had been a contemporary of theirs, believing that they had danced with her and courted her, perhaps confusing time with its mathematical progression, as an old do, to whom all the past is not a diminishing road, but instead a huge meadow which no winter ever quite touch. Sorry, which no winter ever quite touches, divided from them now by the narrow bottleneck of the most recent decade of years. The narrator really here is emphasizing the idea of time, and I think this is very important to see. And I think we know the whole story, as I told you. The most powerful thing about this story is the ways in which the narrative goes back and forth, and the idea of timing. The way he emphasizes the question of time. As you can see here, he says generations and generations about it. Already we know that there was one room in that region above stairs, which no one had seen before or had seen in 40 years. You see, so this is, as I said, she's been living with a dead Homer Baron for 40 years. And which would have been forced. They waited until Miss Emily had decently in the ground before they opened it. So they took her away and buried her. And now they came back to the house to open the upstairs room. The violence of breaking down the door seemed to fill this room with pervading dust, a thin cried pall as the tomb seemed to lie everywhere upon this room decked and furnished as for a bridal. It's really, again, funny here saying that the whole room seems like a tomb itself. So the whole room seems to be a grave for this, because now, at least now, they don't know that the man is inside. But again, the way it's say furnished as for a bridal. So as if to say that the whole thing, this room was absolutely decorated for a bride, or for a wedding, a bride and her husband, and bride and bridegroom, which is really amazing and shocking. And that's what happened, of course. She arranged the whole thing. Remember, she bought a suit, she bought a tie, necktie, she bought everything in a very lovely way. And then she poisoned him. Upon the valance curtains of faded rose color, upon the rose shaded lights, upon the dressing table, upon the delicate array of crystal, and the man toilet thing or toilet thing backed with tarnished silver so tarnished that the monogram was obscured. Among them lay a collar and tie, as if they had just been removed, which left upon the surface of pale crescent in the dust. Upon a chair hung the suit, carefully folded beneath it, the two mute shoes and the discarded socks. The man himself lay in the bed. For a long while, we just stood there, looking down at the profound and fleshless grin. Yeah, what an ugly thing. They looked, and there the man was in the bed. Everything, nothing except bones, looking down at the profound and the fleshless grin. A smile. You could see him smiling, grin, like a little smile. The body had apparently once lain in the attitude of an embrace, and now the long sleep had outlasts love. So as if to say, the way the body is there, as if he was like dead in a shape of embracing, and mocking here the way that's when you see how death kills love, that conquers even the grimace of love, had cuckolded him. Yeah, again the verb here, cuckolded him. Really, the word cuckold, sometimes we use it for people who know that their wives are doing something ugly, but they can't do anything about it. So, and they, in a sense, they were cuckolded like that. So here, the idea that he was terribly killed by his wife, as if she has been, or she was, or she did something really ugly to him. Of course, she killed him. What was left of him rotted beneath. What was left of the nightshirt had become inextricably from the bed in which he lay, and upon him and upon the pillow beside him lay that even coating of the patient and patient and bidding dust. Then we noticed that in the second pillow was the indentation of a head. One of us lifted something from it, and leaning forward, that faint and invisible dust dry and acrid in the nostrils, we saw a long strand of iron gray hair. Iron gray hair. Meaning she was still sleeping in the same bed, maybe till last year, because they found iron gray hair. And this is her hair when she died. Well, I mean, you can see here I give you a long really conclusion here about a case study for plot and point of view. Please read all this, because it's really very important for you to see what do I mean about the question of plot as a very good example for plot, and again for a point of view. You can see all this introduction. Well, not introduction really, it's like a conclusion to this short story. Please read all that. I'm not going to read it for you, because really it's very important that you should do that. Yeah, okay. Any question, anything, girls, boys? Okay, I'll stop.